This session begins the topic of chemistry. As you get ready for the chemistry section, there are a couple of things that I want to help you with that will be vital to helping you understand the chemistry section. The first thing is this. Somewhere you will need to find a copy of a periodic table. It doesn't have to be this periodic table. You could look it up on the internet and print it out. My suggestion is that you print out 2 copies. We're going to write on one of the copies a lot, and then we're going to make notes on the other one. A periodic table is going to be vital for the chemistry section that you're about to begin. And so I want to make sure in advance you know that. Now you can watch a section or so without the periodic table, but if you can go pick one out, get one, this will be the most vital thing you're going to use in this session. Today we begin chemistry, and we're going to talk about the atom. When we went through the biology section, the study of life, we talked about the cell because it is the smallest part of all living things. Today we're going to talk about the atom, the smallest particle of all matter. You know probably from middle school that all atoms have protons, neutrons, and electrons. So what we're going to do is we'll make a little table here out of this. And I would suggest that along the way you write down all the information so that you don't miss anything. I'm going to talk about charge, location, and importance. All right. Protons inside the atom have a +1 charge. Now, sometimes you probably learned that the proton is positive, and that's true. You'll see the positive sign. But if I were to give you a proton, you would be +1. If I gave you another one, you'd be +2. Every one of them has a value of 1. Neutrons are neutral. They do not have a charge at all. Electrons, on the other hand, have a -1 charge. Works very similar to like protons. Location. The location in the atom where protons are located in the nucleus of the atom. Neutrons are also located in the nucleus of the atom. The electrons, we'll just make this simplistic, are outside the nucleus of the atom. Outside the nucleus of the atom. They're spinning around. Many times you'll see pictures of the atom in which you'll have the nucleus. The electrons spin around in the different rings around outside that nucleus. Now, importance. The very first thing I want to write down about the proton is that it identifies the atom. We'll see in greater detail what that means. But in general, it means this. The proton tells you what element you're dealing with. Neutrons are going to give you mass in the atom, and electrons are going to equal out charges. They're going to equal out the charges. As a matter of fact, you're going to have the same number of protons and electrons. We'll see here in a minute. They equal out charges. Now, let's talk about mass for a second because this is going to be very important. And I'll just abbreviate it like this. Protons, neutrons, electrons. They do not have the same mass at all. Let's just say that an electron is 1 unit. We'll use that just as a generic here for a minute. If the electron is 1 unit, this guy is 1,836 times heavier, and so is this one. They're huge compared to the electrons. So protons and neutrons have lots and lots of mass. The electrons do not. I'll give you a simple example. A proton would be like a 10-pound bowling ball, and an electron, so would a neutron. Neutron would be like a 10-pound bowling ball, but the electron would be like a speck of dust compared to that. It just basically almost has no mass at all. It does have a mass, it's just really, really tiny. Really, really tiny. Protons and neutrons are massive compared to that of the electron. Now, does that mean electrons are not important? That's not true either. Protons identify the element, but the electrons are needed to balance it out. Even though they almost have no mass at all, their job is incredibly important. Now, in the past, I know that you've learned protons, neutrons, and electrons and their locations. This is just a reminder of what they are, where they're located, and their importance. And what we're going to do in the next session is we're going to start using those things.